60,000 years ago, someone picked up a bone and did something no animal had ever done. They didn't use it as a weapon. They didn't use it as a tool. They held it up, pressed it to their lips, and blew. A sound came out, hollow, haunting, unlike anything the natural world had ever produced. That bone still exists. Scientists found it in a cave in Slovenia. And when they replicated it, when they heard the sound it made for the first time in 60,000 years, one researcher said it made the hair on his arm stand up because it didn't sound primitive. It sounded like music. That fragment of cave bear femur is called the Divje Babe flute. It sits in a museum in Ljubljana today, barely the length of your hand, with 2 holes bored into it with deliberate, careful precision. For decades, scientists argued over whether those holes were made by a Neanderthal or carved by a cave bear's teeth. But in 2023, a team of researchers ran a full acoustic and structural analysis and settled the question. The spacing of the holes is not random. They are positioned to produce specific notes, notes that fit inside a diatonic scale, the same scale that underlies almost every piece of music you have ever heard in your life. A Neanderthal made this, not a modern human. A Neanderthal, a species we spent a century assuming was little more than a brutish, stumbling ancestor, and they were making music. But here's what's fascinating. The Divje Babe flute is just the oldest instrument we found. It is almost certainly not the oldest instrument that ever existed. Wood rots, stretched animal skin disintegrates, reed instruments vanish in a few hundred years. The only reason this flute survived 60,000 years is because it was made of bone and buried in a cave. Every musicologist who studies this period agrees on one thing. Music almost certainly goes back much further than any physical evidence we can point to. Some researchers believe it may be as old as our species itself, 300,000 years or more. We didn't discover music at some specific moment in history. Music may have been with us from the very beginning. So the question isn't really when. The question is why. Why would a Neanderthal, living in a world of predators and scarcity and constant physical danger, spend time and effort carving holes into a bone to make sound? Why would that ever matter enough to do? The easy answer is that it felt good. That early humans made music for the same reason modern humans put on headphones, for pleasure, for comfort, for something to do. But that answer is almost certainly wrong, or at least dangerously incomplete, because music, at the scale we see it throughout human prehistory, wasn't a luxury. It was a solution to one of the hardest problems our species has ever faced. Here's the problem. Humans are physically weak. Compared to the predators that hunted us for most of our evolutionary history, lions, hyenas, cave bears, we are slow, fragile, and poorly armed. Our only real advantage was each other. A group of humans working together could do things no individual human could do alone. They could track prey for days. They could defend a campsite through the night. They could share food, share knowledge, share the burden of raising children who take years to become useful. Cooperation wasn't a nice feature of human society. It was the thing that kept us alive. But cooperation requires trust. And trust between individuals who aren't family, who didn't grow up together, who might be meeting for the first time. That is extraordinarily hard to build. This is where music enters the story, not as entertainment, as technology. In 2008, evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar at Oxford published research arguing that music evolved primarily as a tool for social bonding, a way of creating trust and connection between individuals at a scale that language alone couldn't achieve. Language is sequential. You speak, I listen, I respond. One relationship at a time, but music is simultaneous. When a group of people sing together, or drum together, or move together to a shared rhythm, something happens in their brains that language cannot replicate. Their neural activity begins to synchronize. Their breathing aligns. Their bodies produce a flood of endorphins, the same chemicals released during physical contact, during laughter, during the kind of deep conversation that makes you feel genuinely known by another person. Music is a social drug, and it works on strangers just as effectively as it works on friends. Dunbar called this the grooming, gossip, and the evolution of language hypothesis. Primates bond through physical grooming. You pick parasites off my fur, I pick them off yours. It builds trust. It releases oxytocin. It creates alliance. But grooming is slow. one relationship at a time, one pair of hands. As human groups grew larger, from the small family bands of early primates to the complex multi-family tribes that Homo sapiens began forming, physical grooming couldn't scale. You cannot groom 50 people at once, but you can sing with 50 people at once. You can drum with 100. And the neurochemical effect is similar. Music allowed our ancestors to bond with more people faster than any other mechanism available to them. It was, in the most literal sense, a survival tool. But there's another layer to this, and it might be the strangest part of all. Every human culture ever discovered makes music. Not most. Every single one. It's a biological signature. It means music isn't a behavior humans invented in one place and spread to others. It's something that emerged independently, repeatedly, everywhere humans went, which means it's in us, built into us, part of the same biological inheritance as language and laughter and the instinct to care for our young. Neuroscientists have spent the last 2 decades trying to understand why. Hear a piece of music that moves you, it really moves you, the kind that makes the back of your neck go cold. Your brain releases dopamine, not in response to the music itself, but in anticipation of a moment in the music it has learned to expect. Your brain is predicting the song. And when the song delivers, when that note lands exactly where your nervous system knew it would, the reward response fires. Music is the only stimulus scientists have found that can reliably produce this anticipatory dopamine release. None of them are thinking about a bone in a cave in Slovenia. None of them know they are participating in something 60,000 years old, possibly older. But they are. Every one of them is doing exactly what the Neanderthal did, reaching for something that has no survival value on paper, no caloric return, no immediate practical purpose. We didn't invent music. We found it. And everything we built, every civilization, every ceremony, every moment of genuine human connection across 300,000 years of history was built partly on the back of a sound that a Neanderthal pulled out of a bone in a dark cave, pressed to their lips, and released into the world. We're still listening.